Hello everyone. Our subject is An Introduction to Medicinal Chemistry. It is section CH510A. This is A section and section first. This is our first chapter and our name of chapter is An Introduction to Drugs, Their Action and Immunobiologicals. So in this chapter, today we will discuss classification of drugs. Okay, so we can classify drug into different criterias. So what is classification of drugs? So drugs are classified on four different criterias. First one, classification by pharmacological effect, then classification by chemical structure, third one is a classification by target system, and last one is a classification by target molecules. So there are four different criterias. By using that criteria, we can classify any drug into that four different criteria. So first criteria, that is classification by pharmacological effect, we already have discussed that criteria, that is how to classify drug according to their pharmacological effects. Drugs can be classified depending on their pharmacological effects, like there are different types of drugs and its pharmacological effects. Like some drugs are analgesic, means aspirin like drug. We can use that analgesic like aspirin. Then antipsychotic drug. Okay, so that antipsychotic drug, having one example, that is clozapine. We already have discussed that drug clozapine in our class. Then antihypertensive drug, so that drug which is used for hypertension. So that antihypertensive drug, that is next is anti-asthmatic drug, that is fluticasone. That is fluticasone drug which is used as a anti-asthmatic drug. Then antibacterial amoxicillin drug. That antibacterial drug is, the example of that antibacterial is amoxicillin, which is also used for antibacterial drug. Then next one is a antiviral drug. This is example of antiviral is aciclovir. Aciclovir is antiviral. Then anti-cancer drug, that is imatinib, which is used as a anti-cancer. And last one is a anti-ulcer drug, omeprazole. That omeprazole, which it is a name of drug, that omeprazole is the name of drug and which is used as a anti-ulcer drugs. So this classification help to understand the role of each drug against various diseases. Okay, so this classification is according to its pharmacological effects, like antipsychotic, antihypertensive, anti-asthmatic, analgesic or antiviral type. So this is a basic criteria for classification of drugs. So this classification helps to understand the role of each drug against various diseases or disorders. A given drug can have more than one pharmacological activity. Sometimes any single drug have more than one pharmacological activity, and as per this method or as per the method of this classification, it is put in more than one class. So we can put that single drug into more than one class, because if that drug shows more than one pharmacological activity, thus the drugs included in one class are numerous and highly varied in structure. For example, aspirin. So aspirin, what is use of aspirin? It is analgesic. Then clozapine. Clozapine is used as a antipsychotic drug. And third one is a atenolol. Atenolol, that drug is also used. So these type of classification is according to their pharmacological effects or pharmacological action of that particular drug. Okay. So our next criteria of classification is classification by chemical structure. We can classify any drug according to their chemical structure. This is a common classification of drug, and generally drugs that have the same drug action and pharmacological effect have a basic skeletal structure. Sometimes any drugs or sometimes two different drugs which shows same drug action and pharmacological effect have some similar or basic skeletal structure and minute variation in the branching. So that type of drugs are classified according to their chemical structure. In that type of drug, two different molecules having similar structure, or two different molecules shows similarity in their structure, or there is a minute variation or minute difference in the branching or branching or their structure. So that type of drug shows similar pharmacological effects and similar type of skeletal structure. So we can classify drug according to their chemical structure. Okay, so this classification has a chemical approach, and the drugs which have a common skeleton are grouped together. That type of drugs which shows common skeleton are grouped together in a similar in a same class, like penicillins. So penicillins, there are different types of penicillins. Ampicillin, penicillin G are two different penicillins which are having similar structure. Okay, so these structures can classify into their or according to their chemical structure. Then barbiturates. That barbiturates is a class of drug. That barbiturates contains pentobarbital and amobarbital. In this picture, we can see pentobarbital structure and amobarbital structure. There is a minute skeletal difference, difference in their skeletal structure. These two structures are quite similar. That's why we can classify that drugs according to their chemical structure. Okay, so these two drugs show similar properties and similar pharmacological effects, but having minute structural variation. So these drugs are classified according to their chemical structure. Okay, so these two drugs like pentobarbital, and second one is a amobarbital, which are barbiturates. Okay, then opiates. Third type is opiates. Opiates contains codeine and morphine. Codeine and morphine. These two drugs are also opiates, and these codeine and morphine also having similar type of structure. So in our next figure, we can see the codeine structure and morphine structure. Second structure is codeine, third structure is codeine, and fourth one is a morphine. So that codeine and morphines are also having structural similarity and some similar pharmacological effects. So these structures are also classified according to their chemical structure, and these two are opiates. Then steroids and catecholamines are some of the classes which is also based on chemical structure. The structural similarity in the member of one class gives them similar biological activity and mechanism of action. Hence, the study of these drugs in a given class becomes easier. We can classify the two different drugs into in a same class for sake of our convenience according to their chemical structure, which shows similar pharmacological effects. However, there can be exceptions. In that case, there is also exception or exceptional cases are there, like steroids. Okay, that steroids which also shows or shares a similar tetracyclic structure, but they play different biological role. These sometimes steroids also having similar structure or structural similarity or same chemical structure having minute difference, but they play different biological roles. So that's why steroids are exceptions in classification of chemical structure. For example, dexamethasone. That dexamethasone is also corticosteroid. Dexamethasone is corticosteroid or steroid which is used for treatment of inflammation of skin, joints and lungs, for the treatment of asthma, allergies and arthritis. Okay, so that dexamethasone and prednisolone, these two are some similar structures. In this figure, we can see prednisone and dexamethasone. It is also corticosteroids having similar structure, but it shows different pharmacological activities or effects. Okay. So our next point is classification by its target system, or classification of drugs by its target system. So this is a broad type of classification of drugs. This according to their target system, it is a broad type of classification of drugs. So drugs can be classified according to whether they affect a certain system in the body. We can classify any particular drug according to whether they affect a certain system or target system in the body. An example, a target system is where a neurotransmitter is synthesized. We can use the target system where a neurotransmitter is synthesized, released from its neuron when neurotransmitter synthesized and released from its neuron and interacts with a protein target and is either metabolized or reabsorbed into neurons. So this classification is a bit more specific than classifying drugs by their overall pharmacological effects. So, for example, drugs targeting the cholinergic and the adrenergic system. That drug targeting to their cholinergic and the adrenergic system. So, what is cholinergic system and its receptor family in the body can be agonized when cholinergic system and its receptor or receptor family in the body can be agonized means when it is activated, or antagonized means when that cholinergic system and its receptor family which are present in the body, when it is activated we can say agonized, or when it is antagonized, the meaning of antagonize is when it is deactivated with the help of a suitable designed drugs as per the disorder or disease or any physiological condition. Okay. Cholinergic system and its receptor family in the body can be agonized, activated, or antagonized means deactivated with the help of a suitable designed drug as per the disorder or disease or any physiological condition. The cholinergic agonist can stimulate gastrointestinal tract. That cholinergic agonist can stimulate gastrointestinal tract, help in attenuating glaucoma, which helps in attenuating glaucoma, and increase motility by helping muscle coordination, and which increase motility by helping muscle coordination. So they can be modified to the patients suffering from schizophrenia. So that type of drug can be modified to the help patients, the patients who are suffering from schizophrenia like disease. So nicotine and pilocarpine are cholinergic agonists. So that two drugs like nicotine. In this figure we can see the structure of nicotine, and next one is a pilocarpine. That nicotine and pilocarpine are cholinergic agonists. What are agonists? These two drugs are agonist means they activated cholinergic system and its receptor which are present in body. The cholinergic system and its receptor family in the body can be agonized or activated by these two drugs like nicotine and pilocarpine. So these drugs are used as a target system. Okay. So in this structure we can see that nicotine and pilocarpine which is used to cholinergic agonist or cholinergic activator. So which is used for activation. On the other hand, the cholinergic agonists help in controlling involuntary movement of muscles, which gives relief from motion sickness and peptic ulcers. That cholinergic agonists help in controlling involuntary movement of muscles, which gives relief from motion sickness and peptic ulcers. Okay, so atropine and scopolamine are cholinergic antagonists. So there are two different drugs. Again, there are two different drugs. In this structure, in this figure diagram, we can see atropine and scopolamine. So these two drugs also having shows, or the classification of these two drugs also takes place according to their target system. So these two drugs, atropine and scopolamine, are cholinergic antagonist. What is meaning of antagonist? Cholinergic antagonist means these are deactivated. That cholinergic system and its receptor can be antagonized or deactivated by using this atropine or scopolamine drugs. So these two drugs are also shows structural target. These two drugs are also classified according to their target system. Okay, it also used to uh, these two drugs are also used as a cholinergic antagonistic or cholinergic antagonistic. Means what is meaning of antagonized? It means it deactivated that particular receptors. Okay, so this is classification according to their target system. This is classification of drug according to their target system. We already have discussed in that case nicotine, pilocarpine, and next one is a atropine and scopolamine. Okay, so our next or third classification criteria is classification of drug by target molecule. So in our next lecture we will discuss about classification of drug by target molecule. Okay, thank you.